the year 2478, Earth was a distant memory, a graveyard planet orbiting a dying sun. Humanity had long since fled, scattering across the galaxy in search of refuge after centuries of environmental collapse and interstellar wars. What remained was a fragile network of colonies, each isolated and struggling to survive in the cold vastness of space. But among them, one stood out, Haven 12, the last fully functioning human colony. Hidden within the dense nebulae of the Andromeda system, it was the crown jewel of human engineering, a self-sustaining habitat built into the core of an ancient asteroid. Its people had survived for over a century without outside contact, thriving despite the odds, or so it seemed. Haven 12 had a secret, one that was about to come crashing into the light. The story begins with Cale Monroe, a junior systems engineer working on Haven 12's massive AI core, nicknamed Athena. Cale's job was mundane: routine diagnostics, code patching, ensuring the life support systems ran without hiccups. Like most citizens of Haven 12, Cale lived with the comforting belief that their colony was safe, hidden, and untouchable. But that belief was shattered the day Cale discovered the anomaly. It was a subtle glitch in Athena's data streams, a sequence of encrypted signals coming from deep within the colony's core systems. At first, Cale assumed it was a malfunction, but the signals didn't match any known protocol. They were deliberate, complex, rhythmic, and alien. Cale reported the anomaly to his supervisor, but the response was chilling. "Ignore it," the supervisor said, his face pale and his voice trembling. "Do your job, Cale. Don't dig into things you don't understand." But Cale couldn't ignore it. The signals haunted him, their patterns swirling in his mind like a puzzle begging to be solved. So, against every warning, he hacked into Athena's restricted files. What he found changed everything. Buried in the AI's deepest archives was a recording, a transmission from a species called the Zurath, an ancient and ruthless civilization known for harvesting planets and enslaving entire species. The Zurath were coming for Haven 12. And worse, they knew exactly where it was. The signals Cale had found weren't just random noise. They were Zurath scouts probing the colony's defenses. Athena had known about the threat for years, but had been programmed to keep it secret. The leadership of Haven 12 had made a deal: maintain order at all costs, even if it meant hiding the truth from their own people. Cale was furious. How could they keep this from everyone? How could they let their colony march toward annihilation without a fight? But his anger turned to determination. If the leaders wouldn't act, he would. Cale sought out help from Dr. Lena Harlow, a brilliant but disgraced astrophysicist who had been exiled to the colony's lower sectors for her controversial theories on alien tech. Lena was skeptical at first, but when Cale showed her the transmission, shifted. "This isn't just a threat," she said, her voice trembling with excitement. "This is an opportunity." Lena explained that the Zurath used a technology called quantum resonance, a method of communication and travel that allowed them to cross the galaxy in seconds. If they could intercept the resonance signal and modify it, they could potentially disrupt the Zurath fleet, or even turn their own technology against them. But there was a catch. To pull it off, they would need to access Haven 12's core reactor, a place so heavily guarded that even approaching it without clearance was a death sentence. Cale and Lena formed a small team of rebels. Jonas, a former soldier turned scavenger with a knack for explosives. Mira, a mechanic who had grown up dismantling and rebuilding the colony's oldest machinery. And Elon, a hacker whose skills rivaled even Athena's coding algorithms. Together, they hatched a plan to infiltrate the reactor and deploy Lena's modified resonance disruptor. The journey to core was perilous. The group had to navigate the labyrinthine tunnels of Haven 12, dodging patrols and security drones. Every step felt like a lifetime, the weight of the ship pressing down on them. But the real danger came when they reached the reactor. Waiting for them was Commander Derek, the colony's chief enforcer and a staunch believer in the leadership's keep the peace doctrine. Derek had suspected Cale ever since the anomaly report and had been tracking the group's movements. "You think you're saving the colony," Derek sneered, his weapon trained on Cale. "But all you're doing is inviting chaos." Cale didn't flinch. "The chaos is already here, Commander. We're just trying to survive it." A standoff ensued, but Mira managed to disable Derek's weapon with a well-timed EMP grenade. The group subdued him and moved forward, but the delay had cost them precious time. The Zurath fleet was closing in. Inside the reactor, Lena worked frantically to calibrate the disruptor. The reactor's systems were ancient, barely holding together after decades of use. Jonas and Mira held off incoming security forces, while Elon rerouted power to keep the disruptor online. As the Zurath's signal grew stronger, Athena's voice echoed through the chamber. "You are jeopardizing the stability of Haven 12. Cease this operation immediately." Kale, now covered in sweat and grime, shouted back, "Athena, if we don't do this, there won't be a Haven 12 to stabilize." The AI paused, its algorithms processing Kale's defiance. Then, for the first time, it said, "Proceed." The Zurath arrived moments later, their fleet materializing like ghosts from the void. The colony trembled under the force of their arrival, and panic erupted among its citizens. But in the heart of the reactor, Lena activated the disruptor. A blinding wave of energy surged outward, rippling through the Zurath's ships. The fleet's formation broke as their quantum resonance systems malfunctioned. Ships collided, weapons powered down, and the Zurath's once mighty fleet was left adrift. The disruptor worked, but at a cost. The reactor, already unstable, began to overload. Kale and his team barely escaped as the core erupted in a controlled implosion, sending a shockwave through the nebula and scattering the Zurath survivors. Haven 12 was saved, but it came at a price. The reactor's destruction left the colony without power, forcing its people to confront the fragility of their existence. But for the first time in decades, they faced the future with open eyes, no longer shackled by the lies of their leaders. Kale, Lena, and their team became heroes, though they refused the title. "We didn't save Haven 12, Lena said in the aftermath. "We gave it a chance to save itself." As the colony rebuilt, a new message was etched into its foundation, a reminder of the day humanity refused to surrender. In unity, there is hope. In defiance, there is survival. And so, the legend of Haven 12 and the secret that saved it spread across the stars, inspiring the scattered remnants of humanity to fight for their survival, not as isolated colonies, but as one united species.